There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. Honorable members, I wish to acknowledge the presence in the gallery of teachers and learners, some of whom are attending Parliament's Language Services Section Career Development Program. You are welcome. We hope one day you'll be sitting here. Welcome. Honorable members, I think the President will recognize his guest himself. We just noted that there's someone walking with him, but we'll leave it to him to do that at the right time. The only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to the President. Members may press the talk button on their desks if they wish to ask a supplementary question. And I wish to remind the honorable members that the names of members requesting supplementary questions will be cleared as soon as the Honorable President starts answering the fourth supplementary question after each question. The first question has been asked by the Honorable J.L. Fabs. The Honorable the President.
Thank you. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, and you too as well. Honorable Speaker, it's a real joy and pleasure to welcome Trevor Noah amongst us. Over there. Trevor, I never get this type of applause, so I'm jealous. We welcome Trevor. He's come for an assignment, but he's come home as well, whilst he's on a break in the US for a while. And I had a moment to chat to him about his work, but I was particularly impressed about the foundation that he has set up to work on education, which is run by one of his colleagues, Charlene. So we applaud him for plowing back to the country once again. But he's also here for another purpose, to come and look at me and all of you, to make fun of me. He has promised that he's going to make fun of me. Thank you. So he will stay for a while and leave at his own leisure. Honorable members, the central focus of the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum held in Davos in January this year was largely based on shaping the global political and economic architecture in the context of the Fourth Industrial Revolution. The meeting posed the question of how, in a time of rapid technological change, it is possible to ensure that the benefits of what this technological change is yielding, as well as globalization, what the benefit will be, particularly when we come to the issue of how countries and the people of the world will share equitably in its benefits. The meeting was held against the backdrop of growing trade tensions, obviously between the United States and China, the rival of narrow nationalism that is emerging in a number of countries in the world, and a challenge to multilateralism as the best way to manage global relations. These developments present great challenges, particularly to developing countries, including South Africa, which are disproportionately affected by instability in the global economy. When the US economy weakens, we get affected. As it grows, we also get affected. One of the clear messages from this meeting that we held in January in Davos is that South Africa needs to work with other countries in both the developing and developed world to promote a rules-based world order that is representative and more equitable. This is necessary to ensure that in the end, globalization promotes inclusive growth as well as development and not create greater equality as some countries grow and some get poorer. This is particularly important as the fourth industrial revolution begins to reshape industries and economies, creating new patterns of employment, production, as well as investment. This fourth industrial revolution is the greatest change process human civilization has ever known. Previous industrial revolutions were able to unleash enormous forces that had a huge impact on the industrial production process, but this fourth industrial revolution, which is largely based and being driven by artificial intelligence, by digitization, but also underpinned by other processes like the blockchain, has a far greater transformative effect, much greater than the previous revolutions that the world has seen, because its transformative power is much greater. This fourth industrial revolution is changing and reshaping practically everything that human beings do. The way we live, the way we interface with each other, the way we make things, the way we use the resources in the world, the way we communicate, the way we learn, the way we work, and also is having an impact on the way we govern and the way we do business. So its scope and speed are quite, and reach are quite unprecedented. Countries that do not anticipate and effectively adapt to these changes will be less competitive and have greater difficulty in achieving sustained growth as well as employment. The clear implication for our country is that we need to move with greater focus and urgency to develop the skills, the human capital, the institutions, as well as fashion out strategies that we will require to seize the opportunities of this technological change. It is for this reason, Madam Speaker, that we have established the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, which will soon begin its work to develop a national action plan to position our country as a competitive global player. It is also for this reason that we announced in the State of the Nation a series of initiatives to equip young South Africans with the skills they will need to thrive in the workplace of tomorrow. For its part, Team South Africa that went to the World Economic Forum went there with a clear message that our country is on a path of growth and renewal. Whether from government, business, or other sectors, we conveyed a message that South Africa's focus is on securing massive new investment to ensure that we have growth and job creation. We reported to the forum in the various sessions that were held there on the intensive engagement that we are having with business to promote investment opportunities, to identify obstacles and to resolve barriers that have been identified. We outlined the agreements that were reached with business and labor on measures to accelerate job creation and the economic reform measures that we have undertaken to promote growth and to restore investor confidence in our country. We also spoke about the measures we have taken to end state capture and tackle corruption, because those that we are interacting with, our interlocutors in the whole world, know what has been happening in our country, and we inform them that we have taken measures and steps, and some of those are underway, to restore good governance, financial stability, particularly at state-owned enterprises. This message was well received by everyone we interacted with. Several members of Team South Africa observed that there was a new confidence and heightened interest in South Africa at Davos this year. Working together, and we felt that working together as a united, cohesive team, we were able, without ignoring the substantial challenges that we face, to present a credible vision of a growing, inclusive South African economy. And let me say, Madam Speaker, that this message was well received. It was so well received that South Africa was the flavor of the week when we were in Davos, as we were being called from session to session to interact with various people. We found that people are truly attracted to our country. South Africa is a magnet. Let's make it a greater magnet. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Fox.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, you actually shared with this House what the international community, especially the economic community, was saying were some of the challenges and the opportunities of the fourth industrial revolution. Now, Mr. President, given the relationship of investment to jobs and also the economy, perhaps you can share with this House and fellow South Africans a larger, if you could expand a bit more, on what other companies, what was the depth of their investment commitment to our country? And secondly, in terms of the local companies, our private sector here in South Africa, what is their commitment to making and taking every opportunity that comes along in the fourth industrial revolution and external investment? How deep is their commitment to South Africa in making this a premier destination for investment? I thank you.
The Honorable, the President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I answer this question, I would like, next time we go to Davos, I'll ask the Minister of Finance and Trade and Industry to extend an invitation to colleagues on my left-hand side here, so that they can go and learn the ways of the world, and they can see how South Africa gets into action to attract investment to our country when we are there. Madam Speaker, yes, we were able to interact with quite a number of companies. In fact, the number of companies that we interacted with were in two categories. Some had already invested in our country, and they wanted comfort in knowing that they can extend their investments. There was one particular company that sought to know whether we see a future for further offshore investments in our country, and whether they could expand some of their works, particularly in KZN. And we said, by all means, they could, and they were very, very pleased, and they immediately said they are going to be investing $500 million for further expansion in one of their operations in KZN. So that was a very big, big commitment that we got. And we were able to meet with a number of other new ones, who want to have an interest in investing in South Africa, who have seen South Africa as a good investment destination, and they wanted to know some details with regard to the various offers that we make in terms of our infrastructure layout, our financial services, a regulatory framework, and a whole number of others. So there were a number of companies that we interface with, both invested here as well would-be investors. So on that score, I think Team South Africa did very well. And what helped, of course, was that we had a team of ministers who had gone with us, as well as a number of officials, but we also had our investment envoys who were able to interact with a number of investors and point them in the right direction, either to talk to ministers, departments, and in some occasions also to have a discussion with me. So that was good. Now, South African companies' commitment to the fourth industrial revolution, I think many South African companies have realized that they've got to adapt or they will lose out, as I was saying earlier on. And many, I'm pleased to say, have taken to the fourth industrial revolution like a fish is taking to water. They are preparing their own companies to interface with it. And in fact, truth be told, the fourth industrial revolution is here. And they are already using artificial intelligence. They are already using digitization. But what I found interesting as we were in Davos, Madam Speaker, was that a number of corporate leaders were focusing more on how to deal with the effects of artificial intelligence and digitization, because they were saying we're now getting into an era where machines are now going to be doing quite a lot of the work. And in fact, you're going to find that a machine designs everything, or through software designs everything before you go build it in the factory. And that is going to replace workers. And they were consumed by a notion which I found very comforting, which is how to ensure that there is a good transition for workers to be retrained, to be reskilled, and to be upskilled, so that as artificial intelligence comes fully into its own, people don't lose jobs. And the view was also expressed that this new industrial revolution we're facing is actually having the potential to create even more jobs. And that still needs to be explored. And it is for this reason that we have set up the Presidential Commission on the Fourth Industrial Revolution, so that we can begin the process of looking at job creation beyond the current revolution as we get into the fourth industrial revolution. So great opportunities await our country, await companies in our country, and our people in the fourth industrial revolution. Thank you.
The Honorable Kulu.
Honorable Speaker, my apology. In fact, I wanted just to register my attendance. Unfortunately, I pressed the wrong button. So sorry.
The Honorable Maimane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sure at our next trip to Davos after the 8th of May, the Minister of Finance could find a role for former presidents who come with us. So
Dream on, dream on.
But you know, Mr. President, there is something that does confuse me. You go to Davos, you tell the people of South Africa that, sorry, Speaker.
Order. Allow the Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition, to proceed with his supplementary question.
Yeah. When you go to Davos, you tell the people that you will expropriate land without compensation within the constitutional framework. You come back home and those who are not in Team SA but are in Team ANC say, no, we're going to expropriate without compensation and amend the constitution. You go to Davos, you tell the people there that in fact, no, you are not going to nationalize the Reserve Bank, you are not going to nationalize mine, yet members in your own cabinet come out and they make contradictory statements. Now, Mr. President, I'm sure you and I would agree that if we're going to grow the economy of our country, we have to give policy certainty. What really does confuse me is who directs policy. Even your greatest cheerleaders are starting to go, who's in charge? Can you help us understand these contradictions as to what is your government's policy on nationalization of the Reserve Bank, nationalization of land? Can you clarify it so that people can come and invest in South Africa? Thank you very much, Mr.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Maimane. The issue of the expropriation of land without compensation, the ANC is very clear on it. There's just no question about it. What I have said to investors, which is absolutely correct thing to say, is that we want you to come and invest. And as you come and invest, we are not going to be expropriating your investments. We are not going to do that because we cannot invite you to come and invest to let us grow our economy, and at the same time we then say we are now going to expropriate your investment. It doesn't make sense. But what we have said, that there is land in our country that was stolen from the people of our country. And that land, yes, our people were dispossessed of their land, and yes, some of the land was stolen, yes, and there is land hunger out there. That message we have made very clear. And Honorable Maimane, the people who we interact with have gone beyond where you are now. They've gone way beyond. They've gone beyond because they understand fully what our intent is as the African National Congress. They are very clear that there is historical injustice, and because they also are people who would like to see justice promoted, they see that as a historical justice that needs to be addressed. Now, the question is, how are we going to do it? And when are we going to do it? And that is a process that we are now working through the constitutional amendment, as well as through the amended expropriation bill. And all those are processes that are following what we've said precisely. We are going to do everything within the rule of law, within the precepts of our constitution, and all that will follow its own program and its own time. The issue of the Reserve Bank, the governing party has taken a very clear resolution. A clear resolution that says the Reserve Bank of our country should be owned by the people of South Africa. That is an important consideration. Now, what do we have? We have a situation where we've got external shareholders who live in various countries in the world and so forth. Now, so that you must never think that the ANC is smoking something. This has been done by a number of countries in the world. There are some 6 countries only in the world that are still having external shareholding in their central banks. South Africa is one of them. The United Kingdom used to have external shareholders in the 40s. They realized that in order to advance a whole number of things, including their economy, that actually the central bank should be wholly owned by the people of the United Kingdom. They went ahead and bought out the external shareholders. They bought them out in the 40s or so, and today the Bank of England is wholly owned by the state of the United Kingdom. Now, the same thing obtains in a number of countries. Now, I don't want you to deceive South Africans and think that this ANC wants to go ahead with a mad program. This is the done thing around the world. This is the done thing. Now, what does that give us? What that will give us, it will give us sovereignty. It will confirm our sovereignty. The central bank, the central bank is one of those most important institutions in the life of any country. And that is what the ANC resolved should be done. Now, obviously, we've got to go through processes. We've got that decision is there and it's got to be implemented. And we are going to go through a process of seeing how best that decision is implemented. And that is the position. There is no hidden agenda. There is no manga business. There is just nothing. That is precisely what the ANC is trying to do. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Kaula.
No manga business. President, the reason why for the last 25 years this country has failed to create jobs and empower the black majority is because it takes direction from Davos, London, and Washington, with organizations like World Bank, IMF, and World Trade Organization dictating government policy and programs, not for the benefit of South Africans, but for the benefit of multinational companies to appease UK and United States. Do you honestly believe that the economic policy of the last 25 years have brought real change to the economy and the people of this country? And if not, why do you continue to pursue the same policies, unless, of course, it is for your own personal benefit?
The Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I believe that the policies that we have pursued in the last 25 years have brought about transformative change in South Africa in a monumental way. The South Africa we live in today is very different from the South Africa we inherited in 1994. We have doubled the number of people who are employed in our economy. When the ANC government got into office, there were some 8 million people working in our country. Today, there are 16.5 million people who are employed in our economy. That is progress. The GDP of our country has almost doubled, and if you look at all the other social policies that we have pursued on education, on health, on caring for our people, and infrastructure development, and bringing investments into South Africa, and the foundations that we are laying for further growth and investment are policies that are going to lead this country forward in the next 25 years. So those who have eyes, those who have ears, will have heard that indeed South Africa has moved forward since 1994. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Esther Raisin.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, I respect your optimism for the fourth industrial revolution, but in Davos, the theme for the World Economic Forum was globalization. This forum took place when there was an unmistakable backlash against globalization. Does this not make your target of $100 billion investments a bit ambitious, especially in a time of global financial strains and trade wars that's happening right now? Thank you.
The Honorable the President.
We did, Honorable Speaker, we did say when we launched this drive to attract $100 billion of investments into our country that it is an ambitious target, very ambitious, We've never really done it in our country before to go for such a big amount. But we thought that we should be bold, we should be brave, we should exhibit courage so that we are seen by the investing world that we are really we are serious about attracting investments in our country. And we were challenged. We were challenged by the would-be investors about a whole number of things that they said we need to put right. And we are addressing those issues, the spectrum issues, the regulatory framework in mining and all that. All those are being addressed. But we believe that even that 100 billion may even be a little bit on the shy side. We believe that South Africa still offers great investment opportunities. Last night, I had occasion to address more than 2,000 YPO executives, CEOs, members of the Young Presidents Organization, who've come to our country, and they were enthused with the message that we put forward, and the enthusiasm started, influencing a number of others to say, we want to consider investing in South Africa. We want to see what markets you have now. What we have done is to build an investment book that covers a number of sectors. And I've addressed this before, even in SONA. And we've encouraged our provinces to build their own investment books. What that does is to create and bring to the fore and onto the table those investment opportunities that exist in our country to attract investors to come. We also go out of our own way through the special economic zones to attract investors and give them incentives so that they can create jobs and make products for both the export market and our own internal market. But the other important thing is we've been saying to would-be investors that we are the gateway into Africa. Africa has now adopted a free trade area agreement. We're now going to create a market of 1.2 billion people, and we are hoping that the revenues that will come to Africa will be well over $1.2 trillion and all that. So South Africa is still the most well-endowed country in terms of the various infrastructure layout, the financial infrastructure and all that. So that puts us right at the top. We may not be number one, but that puts us right at the top in as far as being attractive to investors. In fact, if you care to know, and we can check the figures, we are the one single country that attracted more foreign direct investment on the African continent than any other in the past year or 2 years. So that is phenomenally successful. So, Honorable Member, we are hoping to build on that and be able to raise our 1.4 trillion rand to bring it to South Africa, and that in itself should be able to create a lot of jobs. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We now come to question number 2, asked by the Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition. The Honorable, the President.
The Zondo Commission of Inquiry has a mandate to investigate and make findings on the nature and the extent of corruption, if any, in the awarding of tenders and contracts by government entities. According to its terms of reference, the Commission is expected to establish, in particular, whether any member of the executive, including the President, public official, functionary of any organ of state, influenced the awarding of tenders to benefit themselves, their families, or entities in which they held a personal interest. It is important to note that the work of the Commission is continuing. It should be allowed to fulfill its mandate, and having fulfilled its mandate, we should allow it to present its report on its findings on these and other matters. This does not prevent the relevant authorities, though, where any instances or allegations of unlawfulness are revealed at the Commission from taking any necessary steps in terms of the law. Nor does it prevent any government department or agency from reviewing any contracts entered into with companies implicated in the testimony before the Commission. In doing so, public entities need to follow due process and act within the law, understanding that some of the testimony that has been provided at the Commission has yet to be subjected either to cross-examination or further proofing, and that the Commission has not yet made any finding on that testimony. In the particular instance of African global operations, some departments, such as the Department of Correctional Services, have initiated a review of its contracts with the company. Where there is evidence to suggest possible corruption in the award of any tenders to this company, African Global Operations, or any other company, public entities are urged to initiate a review of those contracts and provide all necessary information to the relevant law enforcement authority. This is part of the necessary work being undertaken to end state capture and corruption, hold those who are responsible to account, but more importantly, to recover monies that have been lost or been stolen from the state. I thank you.
The Honorable, the Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. President, I think we can agree that an example must be set from the top. The last time you and I spoke about this matter, we uncovered a few things. One is that your party has had a generally corrupt relationship with Bosasa. Sons, daughters have got benefits, they've got contracts, they've got cars. Your own son has got a contract with Bosasa, and we know that you got 500,000 for your election campaign. Now, Mr. President, here's my challenge. I hold here the very sad contract that you said you'd seen when I asked you this question. And therefore, in this contract, what I find very strange, Mr. President, is that when I requested it, I asked them how much money did your son benefit from Bosasa, and they gave me a redacted version with the amounts crossed out. Now, I think the people of this country deserve to know the truth. They deserve to know what's been covered up here, and if you've seen the contract, as I have seen the contract, I'd like for you to tell the people of this country how much exactly did your son benefit from Bosasa, which has had a generally corrupt relationship with your party.
The Honorable, the President.
Well, it's an easy answer. It's a fairly straightforward answer. The public protector, the public protector is busy with this whole matter. And all information has been submitted to the public protector by myself, a number of people, as well as my son. So the contract that he had for doing work for them outside the country is a matter that is now with the public protector, and it is going to be dealt with in that way. And you know, if you care to know, there's really nothing to hide. But the public protector is the one who knows. Yeah, no. I think the approach there with that was that this is like company confidential information. No, listen. And I went on to say everything should be disclosed to the public protector. So it has been disclosed to the public protector. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Mkhalipi,
Madam Speaker.
are you rising on a point of order?
Yes, Madam
Honorable?
Speaker.
What's the point of order?
It's Rule 1426 of the National Assembly rules.
What is
Now,
the point?
The President has indicated that he's given information to the Public Protector. The President is accountable in terms of this Constitution to this Parliament, not the Public Protector. This is a parliamentary question, and he can't duck out of it. If it's so straightforward, he needs to give us a number. How much?
Honorable Speaker, the President has given you an answer, and we are proceeding to the next supplementary question to be asked by the Honorable Mkhalipi.
Speaker.
Yes, I see Honorable Paulson.
Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Waters.
On a point of clarity, if the President did answer the question, can you please inform the House how much his son made from the Bosasa contract?
No, Honorable Waters, you can
obviously
submit another question if you
we've
want
asked the President.
to pursue the issue of
How
the
much?
son.
How much, Mr. President?
Honorable Mkhalipi, or is it Honorable Paulson?
Madam Speaker.
No,
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Steenhuisen, please
Madam
now
Speaker, in terms
do
of-
cooperate with me and take your seat.
Madam Speaker, I would love to cooperate with you if the President cooperated with us. Madam Speaker,
Honorable
can we then ask...
Steenhuisen, I have not allowed you.
Can we then make a
Please.
request that the President sends a letter 3 days after the sitting, like he did the last time, and changes his answer and give us a number?
Honorable Paulson, please ask your supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Mr. President, you started all these commissions of inquiry because there's obviously a deep-seated rot of corruption spread and managed by your own comrades in the ANC. You promised a new dawn, free of corruption and brazen theft, and that you would clean out government of all those tendencies. But right here in your cabinet, you have Nombula, handbags, Mokanyane, you have Tlabang Makwetla over there, you have Gwedi Mantashe, who are heavily implicated in
Honorable
Bosasa
Paulson,
corruption.
please take your seat. Yes, Honorable Nguni.
Honorable Speaker, in terms of the House rules, the point of order is that the Honorable Paulson, as he continues with his question, is then now continuing to cast aspersions on the good name of other members of this House. And that, according to the rules, he is free to do so, but he can only do so through a substantive motion. We suggest that Honorable Paulson must actually withdraw. Thank you.
Honorable Paulson.
Order, Speaker.
No, Honorable Member, I'm dealing with a ruling on the issue that has been raised by the Honorable Paulson, to which Honorable Nguni has raised a point of order,
Yes, Speaker. But
which is being sustained because he is correct when he says if you are going to cast aspersions, do that in the form of a substantive motion.
Speaker, I just want to raise one thing. Please allow
No,
me.
you will raise that one thing when I've finished with Honorable Paulson.
Okay.
Honorable Paulson, can you please withdraw?
Okay, I withdraw, but these are allegations.
No, Honorable Paulson, you can't say but.
I withdraw.
Unconditionally.
I withdraw unconditionally,
Thank you.
but
Please
Mr.
proceed.
President,
No, Honorable Paulson, there can't be a but when it is unconditional.
I withdrew that part. What part do you want me to withdraw?
But,
But, I withdraw but.
yes.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
It's withdrawn.
Yes.
Okay, so, Mr. President, you know this, Mr. Greasy, a friend of yours, he's implicated so many members of your cabinet. They are still here. So I want to know, Mr. President, and I think the country wants to know, are you serious about clearing out the rotting government, or are you taking us for a ride?
The Honorable the President.
Honorable Speaker, I'm able to say to Honorable Paulson that yes, we are serious about tackling corruption. We are serious about rooting it out. And it is for that reason that we appointed a commission of inquiry. The ruling party or the governing party was brave enough to bear its own chest and appoint a commission of inquiry so that we can go to the root of the corruption that has bedeviled our country over the past few years. And this we have done without any fear, knowing that in the end we must put South Africa first. South Africa must come first rather than ourselves as a political party. So to that end, we are making sure that what the commissions will be coming up with, what they will be recommending, we will follow up and implement. And in this regard, we are not taking the people of our country or South Africa for a ride. We are extremely serious. We are going to root out corruption. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable President, firstly, let me commend your announcement during SONA in February this year that the NPA will soon be setting up its own model of an independent, quote-unquote, Scorpions-type unit to investigate and prosecute those found guilty of further state capture and corruption. To put it simply, Mr. President, the hawks simply do not fly. However, Honorable President, in this regard, in regard to the Bosasa debacle and others that we are currently witnessing, is a Scorpion-style unit enough? In this regard, should you not additionally be giving serious consideration to establishing an additional Chapter 9 Integrity Commission, whose sole task will be the independent prevention, combating, investigation, and prosecution of those involved in grand corruption? And I'd just like your views in this regard, Honorable President.
Honorable the President.
Well, thank you, Honorable Speaker. That is a refreshing idea that possibly maybe we should have like a permanent structure that is going to focus on corruption and investigating corruption and rooting it out. That is a new idea, and it's an idea which I think we should mull over and think about because it could have merits, but at the same time, we do have well-trained agencies like the Hawks, like the NPA, which have people who can actually do the work, who are very well-trained in investigative work, who are prosecutors, and that is precisely what we need to focus our attention on, and at the same time, give a bit of reflection on what you are saying. So there is merit, and maybe we should look at it closely. But thank you very much for your idea. Thank you.
The Honorable Kubisa.
Mhlonishwa Somlomo, ngiyabonga. Mhlonishwa Mongameli. Commissions will come and go, and they are doing a very good job, but we need something that is perennial, something that is done within the legal framework of our country. Would you not believe that within each and every department, and of course we need to extend it to the private sector, something must be done with regard to our legislation, and of course with the primary focus on consequence management? Shouldn't we be taking that direction, that we strengthen our legislation to deal with these issues? Thank you.
Honorable the President.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. I think there is every opportunity that we should exploit once these commissions have come with their recommendations. Because it's quite clear to me that there are various gaps that we need to close. There is a lot that we need to do from a legislative point of view and from an enforcement point of view. And you mentioned a key word, which is consequence management. We need to look at what we've got now and see whether it really engenders consequence management, because there's been system failure, which has allowed a lot of corruption to be embedded, not only in state-owned enterprises, including our own government departments, if we are to be honest. So we need to look once again very closely at the legislative framework that we've got, and the commissions, as they come out with their reports, are going to be able to shed a little bit more light in terms of telling us how everything finally eventuated and how things were manipulated to get to particular deeds. So that is something that we would like to be open to as well. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, we now proceed to question 3, asked by the Honorable Malema. I've been informed that Honorable Mkalipi will take charge of the question in terms of the follow-up question in accordance with Rule 13710A. The President.
Madam Speaker, the severe financial and operational challenges that are currently being experienced by Eskom are not caused by the Independent Power Producers Program, and in particular, the renewable energy projects. Eskom's challenges have been driven by a number of factors, and some of those are massive cost and time overruns on the new build programs of building our new power stations. They were budgeted at a particular amount, and within a particular time frame, they overran all that. And that led to cost overrun. The effects of state capture and corruption also contributed to these cost overruns. The collapse and weakening of governance structures in Eskom also had an impact, and unsustainable debt levels that Eskom has accumulated as it has sought to manage its way out of these challenges of a financial nature and operational nature. But the other problem, of course, has been the maintenance of our current plants. Some of these plants are old. On average, many of our plants are 37 years old, which is a very, very long time to have a plant, because these plants do get old and they get decommissioned. The independent power producers are investing their own debt and equity to construct the projects that they are awarded, including the cost of connecting these projects to the grid. The value of the 27 independent power producers agreements that were signed in April 2018, led by Minister Jeff Radebe, represented in terms of private sector investment some 57 billion rand. To date, the total value of private investment in South Africa's renewable energy generation capacity is 202 billion rand. It is expected that a total of 372 megawatts will be connected to the grid between now and March of 2020, and that Eskom will buy 170 million rands worth of electricity in 2019-2020 financial year. Now, these IPPs costs are fully covered by NERSA, the regulator, through the cost recovery mechanism that they have in place in the multi-year price determination process. In other words, the costs that Eskom incurs in buying electricity from these IPPs are recovered in the tariff, as part of the tariff set by the regulator. The costs of the most recent power purchase agreements will only be incurred when these plants are constructed and connected to the grid. The costs will therefore certainly not collapse the power utility. As the question was asked, will they collapse Eskom? The answer is the costs for these IPPs will not collapse Eskom. With each successive round of the renewable energy IPP program, the cost of electricity has been dropping substantially. In the most recent round, for example, prices for wind were down, that is wind-generated energy, were down to around 62 cents per kilowatt per hour, which compares favorably with Eskom's average cost. It is estimated that the renewable energy IPPs will likely deliver prices below 50% per kilowatt hour, which is way below the cost of Eskom's power stations. This means that these and future IPPs are likely to contribute to lower electricity prices for consumers, which will benefit the poor in the main and encourage economic growth. The renewable energy IPPs have assisted Eskom in improving security of supply without putting a drain on its balance sheet or cash flows. Because as they have been generating power, Eskom had not had to invest in setting up those generation facilities. These projects ensure that new generation capacity is brought online within a short time frame at a time when it is much needed without requiring capital investment by Eskom. Therefore, the continuously decreasing prices of renewable energy will be invaluable in meeting our climate change commitments, in complementing coal-fired electricity and decreasing the average cost of electricity to consumers. As the draft integrated resource plan of our country outlines, South Africa will continue to generate electricity from a mixture of energy sources, and these will be coal, nuclear, which we have, hydro, which we get, it will be wind and sun and gas. And those are the sources of our energy mix. And we are committed to having a healthy energy mix in terms of generation as part of our architecture. What that does, it reduces risk. It enables us to spread our risk properly so that when one goes down, the other one kicks in. For instance, when there isn't enough wind, we know that we can rely on either coal-generated power or nuclear. So that is the architecture of our coal structure that we have. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
The Honorable Mkhalipi.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Mr. President, we know that Pembani and Shanduga Black Umbrella companies in which you own shares are independent power producers with contract to supply Eskom energy. We know that your brother, Douglas Ramaphosa, is a direct on a company, Power Tech, that supplies equipment for renewable energy producers. We know that you and your family, Mr. President, are direct beneficiaries of IPPs, and it was your brother-in-law, the Minister of Energy, who signed the latest set of IPPs putting billions of rands in the pocket of Patrice Motsepe, who also is a brother-in-law. Now, Mr. President, are you willing to say that to the South African people that there is no conflict of interest in the IPP deals? And if not, how do you explain this obvious financial interest? And why do you continue to pursue them if they are causing Eskom to lose money at a time when it cannot even keep the light on and the South Africans are suffering about the load shedding? Conflict of interest? Are you involved, Mr. President,
order,
with Douglas Ramaphosa? Thank you.
Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Nguni, point of order.
I just wish Honorable Speaker to even read it. This is 84.1. No person may impute improper motives to any other member. And then it goes on. And clearly what Honorable Mkhalipi has just done was exactly just that. But 85.2 allows Honorable Mkhalipi to do it. But she cannot rise on this particular aspect. She must do so through a substantive motion. Then we can deal with it at that stage. Thank you.
I see,
Speaker.
I see Honorable Mulder's hand, which is quite rare.
Honorable Speaker, there's a tradition that allows members to make points or to argue before you make a decision. I've heard what the honourable member from the ANC has just now said. But if we cannot ask a question like this to the honourable president, what should we do? The honourable member only said these things are allegations. The president's got the chance to react to them, and I think we should allow him to react.
Yes, I think the Honorable Mnguni is correct to quote the rules that he has quoted, but you are correct, Honorable Mulder. And indeed, we should allow the Honorable member to, this time round, take that caution, but allow the President to answer the question.
Speaker?
No, Honorable Mkalipi, we're allowing the President to answer your question.
I just want to point Rule 84 that was quoted by Mnguni. That is a wrong rule to start with.
No, Honorable Mkalipi,
It's a wrong rule. It
I
says
don't
that
want you to answer.
unparliamentary,
Honorable
unassertive language or
Mkalipi, take your
gestures.
seat now.
So he must not quote the wrong rule.
Take
Speaker.
your seat.
And secondly, Speaker,
No,
earlier on, I
Honorable
arrived here
Mkalipi.
on a point of order.
No,
And you
Honorable
didn't allow
Mkalipi,
me.
you've raised a supplementary question, and I'm allowing the President to answer you.
Yeah, but Mnguni must not come and
Honorable
abuse us
Mkalipi,
here with
take
wrong
your
rules.
seat.
So he must go and
Take your
familiarize
seat,
himself with the
Honorable
rules.
Mkalipi.
He must not quote wrong rules here.
Honorable
We have rules here,
Mkalipi.
Chair.
Honorable President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Speaker, I think I rose.
No, Honorable Member. Please allow the President to answer the question.
I'm rising on a point of
No,
order.
Honorable Member.
I'm rising on a point of order.
I'm not allowing you to
Speaker.
raise that point of order.
You are allowing
On top-
Mnguni to harass members
on
of
top of
parliament from
another
asking
point of
questions.
order. No,
you are
Honorable
setting a
Member.
precedent. You are allowing him to answer on behalf of the president. When the president is respected by EFF, you again allow members of the ANC
I'm
to
going to
stand
switch
up
your mic
and
off.
undermine our right to ask questions. Mnguni must learn to sit down. And the president must answer a question. If he's not fit to answer the question, he must just tell.
Honorable President, please answer the question.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm happy to answer so that we deal with this matter once and for all. Because when the honorable member raises a number of issues, and no, you don't need to repeat. I picked up nearly everything you said. When I was elected as Deputy President of the African National Congress, I decided that since I was going to get into government, I should divest myself of my business interests. And I then went about doing precisely that. As it was taking a little bit of time after I became Deputy President, I wrote to the President and the Director General, and I said, I'd like you to give me a little bit more time, 3 months, so that I finalize my financial matters. And by doing so, I then sold, the family sold out of Shanduka completely. We sold out of Shanduka, we were able to pay our debt with that and so on. So we got out of Shanduka. Pembani bought the Shanduka assets that were composed of a number of different assets, some in mining, banking, and all that. And we went out completely. And I did say that there is, however, a business that I would like to retain an interest in, and that is farming. Because I love farming. And that I have disclosed very, very clearly to everyone, and some investments in property. That has been disclosed. But we did take a view that we will not do any business with any government entity. McDonald's had also been sold. So McDonald's, in my view, does not do any business with government. So that was sold as well. Now, you quote Shanduka Black Umbrellas. Shanduka Black Umbrellas, which has changed its name now to Black Umbrellas, is a business incubation non-governmental organization that incubates incubates black-owned businesses. And thus far, that entity has incubated well more than 3,000 small, medium enterprises that have been put on their feet, and they are operating extremely well. And now, the pride that I have with this is that these businesses, as to the December month, had already turned over 2.5 billion rand, a small and medium enterprise, for their owners, for their own owners, black owners, as well as largely black women. Throughout the country, it has 10 incubators from Cape Town, KZN, throughout the country. And these are funded by the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation, which also runs Adopt a School, which also runs a bursary outfit. Now, that is where Black Umbrellas is. So Shanduka Black Umbrellas is not involved in any renewable energies. My brother Douglas runs his own matters. He and I don't share any business. What he does is his own business. He's in USA Power Tech, I didn't even know. My brother-in-law, Patrice Motsepe, runs his own business. I don't get involved in his business. I have no wish to get involved in his business. And I am not a beneficiary of his business. Now, my brother-in-law, Minister Jeff Khadebe, is a brother-in-law who has been a leading member of the ANC, who I appointed as Minister of Energy. He does his work in terms of all the rules that govern all of us. Now, is there a conflict of interest? I would argue there's no conflict of interest. Now, there can only be a conflict of interest if you can prove it. Even with Motsepe, he runs his own business. He is in renewable energy. That is his own business. And he will never be favored by any one of us. He held a press conference 2 weeks ago where he dealt with this very matter. Now, accusations of conflict of interest and corruption are so easy and people make them without any proof. And we say, where there is proof, bring the proof so that we can deal with it, rather than just cast aspersions against everyone. Now, I want to disabuse us. I want to disabuse us as leaders here to stop casting aspersions unless we've got proof. If you've got proof, then you say, here is the proof, deal with it. So that's how we should. That's how we should deal with these issues. So as far as that is concerned, I believe that the conflict of interest issue I've addressed, and some of us are guided by one principle which is we should not ever steal money from the people of South Africa. Some of us are guided by that. And that is, for me, that is prominent, and I will put that across to you. That is prominent in my mind, that some of us are guided by that, and therefore I think we should desist from just casting aspersions and accusing everyone. If there are issues that are of concern to us, let's raise them, let's get the facts before we cast aspersions. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable President, my original question centered around the energy supply mix that government would favor. Now, you've mentioned some of the areas, solar, wind, etc., etc. Can we get an assurance, Honorable President, that whatever the mix is, that they will be cost-effective and environmentally friendly options? We know now with the coal-fired power station that we have around, there's a serious impact on communities living around those stations. So we need that assurance. And Also, Honorable President, when you took office, were there any dubious contracts or deals that would have been signed by your predecessor on anything to do with nuclear? Thank you.
The Honorable President.
On the issues of how we look after our communities, particularly where there are leaks, we can say that this is a matter of continuous concern to us so that we secure the safety of our people. And even at Eskom level, that is what we have said that they should ensure and make sure that our people are not exposed to any form of danger. With regard to any contract that would have been signed by former President Jacob Zuma on nuclear, no, I have not, that has never been brought to my attention. I think former Minister of Finance, Nene, did explain the issues around that, and they've become public knowledge. So no, I'm not aware of any contract that has been signed with regard to nuclear. Thank you.
The Honorable Groenewald.
Speaker, to the Honorable President, we've just heard that NASA has approved about 23% increase in tariffs for Eskom over the next 3 years. Now, Honorable President, in 2014, the former President, Mr. Zuma, appointed you as the Deputy President to head the task team, specifically to ensure that South Africa will never have load shedding again. So you were the head. Now, I must ask you, what did you do as the head of that task team? In fact, at one stage, it was even referred to as the war room against a load shedding. Nou, achtbare president, ek is gewoond, as jy 'n oorlogskamer het, dan wen jy. Maar is duidelik, u het verloor. Wat het u gedoen om te voorkom dat die verbruiker weer moet opdok vir die skandes van Eskom? Dankie.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Nee, ek dink nie ek het verloor nie. Dit het nie mooi gewerk nie. What we did in the war room period was actually quite a seminal moment, say, if you like, in the history of Eskom in our country, because it got us to fully understand the challenges that Eskom faces. We got very close to seeing how the electricity grid operates and how the power stations were functioning and malfunctioning, their age, the maintenance backlog, and the various costs that were being incurred. What the war room never really got close to was the financial machinations that were happening at the corporate level of Eskom. We were looking more closely at making sure that we keep the lights on. And in the end, the decision that we took, and I went to the president and said, I would like to have the war room closed, because the challenge we were facing was that there were too many entry points into Eskom. I had been appointed to head the war room, but at the same time, I realized, and I told him so, that I'm not able to wrap my arms around Eskom properly to be able to take effective decisions, because at every point there was another entry of another idea of other people and so forth. And I said, let's close it. Let us appoint a CEO who will now be answerable to yourself as president, and yes, to the board, and be able to make sure that we address all these challenges. So it was my proposal to have the war room closed, and it was closed. And the CEO that was appointed was then Brian Molefe, who then got in and ran Eskom. Now, soon thereafter, load shedding stopped. Truth be told, load shedding stopped, and they were able to do whatever. But because Eskom's challenges are a bit on the long-term side, the problem persisted and it lingered on. And right now, we are reaping precisely that lingering on process, because we've got, yes, we've had on the one hand state capture, which did not loom its head at the time we were in the war room. Two, we then had the cost overruns. When we were in the war room, the cost overruns were quite evident, that we were now getting into the type of cost overruns on Medupi and Kusile. What was also not evident at the time was the problem with the design of the power stations, particularly Medupi and Kusile. The design challenges that Minister Gordon has spoken about were not evident. What we also dealt with that we had to countenance was the age of our power stations and all those things. So the war room dealt with those issues, and before it could dig its teeth right deep in, we said, let us close it and get a CEO in place. And the rest is history. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Carter.
Can I say, Speaker, it's not correct.
No, Honorable Groenewald, you asked your question.
Okay, so you did not lose the war, you surrendered. I understand.
Honorable Carter.
Thank you, Speaker. President, recently Minister Gordon said that former Eskom engineers who are now working abroad should be recalled to South Africa to help solve the crisis. In the same week, the report quoted Eskom's own affirmative action plan, which outlined that by March 2020, there should be 1,308 fewer qualified white employees in its service, of which 336 are engineers. On Sunday, 24 February, report quoted the DG of Labour as stating that the employment equity plan at Eskom was suspended, but the suspension was requested by the CEO of Eskom. Now, Mr. President, do you support the return of white skill to Eskom? Did the affirmative action play a role in the loss of skill and expertise to Eskom? And do you support the suspension of Eskom's employment equity plan as a means to bring back the skills? And do you know what was the reason why Eskom's unions were not consulted? Thank you.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. One of the challenges, and this we saw during the war room time, was that there had been a flight of skills from Eskom. The skills that, for instance, had been in place as Eskom built a whole number of power stations before Medupi and Kusile, had left because the building of power stations had been delayed for far too long, so they had left and they had gone to other locales and all that. Now, clearly, those are experienced skills, but in the intervening period, we've had a wonderful, development of new skilled people that have come to the fore. A number of them well experienced, and some still needing to get good experience. Now, a mixture of skills for any organization should always be getting your more senior skills, your medium range skills, and your starting off skills. And when you have that type of architecture, then you are well positioned. Now, do I support the bringing back of skills back to Eskom? Yes, I support that. Do I call them white skills? No. I see skills as skills. So I want skills to come back. Now, this issue of affirmative action and all that, I won't even begin to get into that because it is the people, the practitioners in the belly of the company itself who should really be focusing attention on that. And things like suspension of employment equity, I don't even know why it is necessary and what it means. The practitioners should look very closely and craft an architecture of the skills layout for both well-experienced people, middle experienced people, and newly trained people. There should be a wonderful mixture that can take Eskom forward. That is what I would say. And I'm not a human resource person. I'm just a simple member of parliament. Oh, not anymore. I'm just a simple. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We now come to question number 4, asked by the Honorable Majola. The Honorable the President.
As we indicated before, Eskom faces serious financial, structural, and operational challenges. Working closely with Eskom, we have embarked on a range of measures to respond decisively as well as with urgency to some of these challenges. To support Eskom's financial turnaround plan, which focuses on driving efficiency and reducing costs, government has allocated, as announced by the Minister of Finance, a 23 billion rand a year for the next 3 years to support Eskom during its reconfiguration. In turning its operations around, Eskom has developed a plan that focuses on resolving unplanned breakdowns, addressing the performance and reliability challenges affecting the new units at Medupi and Kusile, improving coal stocks, and strengthening human resource capacity. Alongside these direct interventions, the plan is to restore Eskom into separate state-owned entities responsible for generation, transmission, and distribution. These proposed restructuring is in line with the 1998 Energy Policy White Paper. Contrary to what some have claimed, restructuring will not result in the privatization of Eskom. The main benefit of separation will be to improve, one, the financial management, and give the various entities of Eskom the ability to raise funding, and also being able to mitigate and distribute risks to strengthen incentives for efficiency. The process will enable greater management attention to be focused on turning around the different parts of the business and enhance accountability. In the longer term, the restructuring of Eskom will position the electricity sector to embrace new technologies, distribute generation, and respond to other changes that are taking place in the electricity sector. It will help to diversify the generation of electricity across a multitude of power producers, thereby reducing the country's reliance on a single supplier. It will lead to greater competition in the electricity market that is expected to drive improvements in efficiency and put downward pressure on prices. It will allow lenders to separately fund the different components of the business, allowing debt to be priced more tightly as it more accurately reflects the unique risks of each individual business. As we have indicated before, the restructuring of Eskom will not address the immediate financial and operational difficulties, but what it will do is to lay a foundation for the sustainable, reliable, and efficient generation of electricity into the future. Now, the crisis at Eskom requires interventions on a number of fronts, including taking immediate measures to correct the structural weaknesses that have contributed to much of the current situation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, in the absence of Honorable Majola, Honorable Ranto will take charge of this follow-up question.
Enkosi President, ngempendulo ecacileyo. Kodwa ke President, ngenxa yoloyiko olungaphandle kubasebenzi baka Eskom nakwiifemeli zabo, umbuzo wam uthi kulamaziko ophuhliso kweli ziko lophuhliso elingu Eskom elizawuqhaqhwa libe zintlantlo ezintathu, i-generation, distribution ne-transmission. Ingaba zontathu ziza kutshintshelwa ekubeni kuba kusebenze abantu abasuka ngaphandle abonobugcisa obugqibeleleyo, okanye siza kujonga ubugcisa obukhona ngaphakathi apha kwinkampani yaka Eskom, okanye apha ngaphakathi enkampanini ka Eskom asinabo obo bugcisa, ngoko ke sixhomekeke kubantu ebebebuziwe kumbuzo ongaphambili okokuba kubantu abasuka ngaphandle na, abantu ababekhona kwa Eskom baphuma ku Eskom ngoku bazawubuyiswa kuba singenabo ubugcisa ngaphakathi bokusebenza kwezi ntlantlo zintathu zokohlulwa kuka Eskom. Enkosi.
Enkosi.
Mongameli obekekileyo.
Ndiyabulela, Madam Speaker. I-Eskom xa sesi yenza ukuthi ibe ne-distribution, transmission ne-generation, abantu abasebenza kulawo ma-division bazawuqhubeka basebenze kuwo lawo ma-division. Kwangoku i-Eskom ngendlela esebenza ngayo se inawo lawo ma-division ama-departments qha kwangoku. Esikutshoyo ngoku sithi mayibe amakampani azozimela kodwa abe ngaphansi kwe-Eskom Holdings. So kuzawuba ne-holding company ngaphezulu ezawubizwa Eskom Holdings, and then ngaphansi kube ne-Eskom Generation, Eskom Distribution, and Eskom Transmission. Amakampani azoba efakwe ku-Eskom Holdings. So kwangoku bakhona abantu ke abasebenza in those different entities. Bazawuqhubeka abo bantu basebenze kuwo lawo ma-entities. Into iyona esizama ukuyenza ukuthi okwangoku, and this is where the real challenge for us is. Right now, Eskom as a monolithic company has accumulated too much debt, 430 billion rand. Now, funders, because every company as it operates needs funding, and quite a lot of times funding comes from banks and funding institutions, and often less so from shareholders. Now we have an anomalous situation now where our state-owned enterprises keep running to the shareholder and say, give us money. Now, in other companies, they either go to banks, they go to the bond market. So Eskom has been going to the bond market, to the banks and all that as one monolithic company. And now the funders are saying, you are too big. You are too big, you've got too much debt, because we have lent you money and we've invested in your bonds. We want to see restructuring. Restructure yourself, and we want to see a plan, a credible plan that will take Eskom forward. Now for us, the main driver in all this is not ideological. It is much more financial, to manage the finances of Eskom, so that the Minister of Finance has less of a headache where he's required year after year to keep pumping money, and now the money that he pumps in often goes to servicing the debt. Because the other problem that Eskom faces is that it's not generating enough revenue. Enye ingxaki ekhoyo ukuthi i-business ye-Eskom iya incipha ngoba sifumana ukuthi year after year iyayehla percentage ne-percentage. Kwaye futhi kube nenye ingxaki yokuthi abantu abasebenzisa ugesi abakhokhi lo gesi abawusebenzisayo. And xa bangakhokhi, it means ukuthi i-Eskom iyongena emgodini all the time. So uma si-separate ke, we are trying to make i-Eskom to be more functional, to be more efficient. And abantu ke abo esithetha ngabo ukuthi abaphuma ngaphandle, ewe bakhona abanye abantu abaphuma ngaphandle abane-experience esiyidingayo ngoku. Abantu abakwazi ukuthi badizayine ama-power station amadala abaye kwamanye amazwe ngoku badizayina your modern age power stations. They are South Africans. Sifuna ukuthi babuye bazosinceda apha because they've got specialist skills. Xa bebuyile sifuna ukuthi futhi bafundise the younger generation. As I was saying, you split your experience or expertise mix into extremely experienced, medium, and younger. So bazawufundisa aba abanye as they empower everyone, klasi ya phambili. So sizawusebenzisa abantu ke ukuphendula umbuzo wakho ngokuphelele ngendlela ephelele, sizawusebenzisa bonke aba bantu abakhona in the various divisions. Iqhubeke ke i-Eskom iye phambili. Enkosi.
The Honorable Singh.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm really earning my money today, unlike many in Eskom who looted the funds from there. Honorable President, there is much talk about restructuring, which in essence and in a placatory and amicable way means that the taxpayer will once again be burdened with increased electricity costs, which we have just heard of such restructuring. Now, Honorable President, you referred to the parlous financial situation that Eskom finds itself in, with 430 billion rand debt. Now, we can recover money from municipalities and increase costs, but what is government going to do, Honorable President, to recover the looted billions that have found their way elsewhere in the world in tax havens? If we can get that money back, it will at least help us restore Eskom to some kind of financial credibility. Thank you.
The Honorable President.
It is our, Madam Speaker, thank you. It is our clear intention that we should recover all looted money. Money that has been stolen must be recovered and brought back to the fiscus. And money that has been taken out of the country, we will also follow that up. Now, we have established a tribunal which is going to be able to launch suits against those that we believe have either siphoned money out and taken it out of the country. That tribunal is going to be well empowered to be able to follow that. So we will be bringing the money back. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Maimane.
Mr. President, your government is asking the people of South Africa to pay for the last number of years. You've increased the cost of energy today by 9.4%. Thanks to your own mismanagement by your government. The second thing is, you are coming here to tell us you want to unbundle. We know as much as you do that SACP and COSATU have already said that's not going to happen. So next year, you're going to ask our people to keep paying more for this one entity called Eskom, and you know as much as I do that nothing is going to happen unless SACP agree. My real problem is that you've made a decision to appoint Mr. Mabuza, or Deputy President Mabuza, to head up this new process of unbundling. What's tragic is that here, last week, he came, he told the people of South Africa that the reasons for Eskom's failure are because of growth. That load shedding is an outcome of growth. Now that's outrageous. What I would like to know, Mr. President, is whether you stand by Mr. Mabuza's statement that load shedding is a function of growth. I mean, seriously, come on.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, I think if you had listened very carefully to the Deputy President, and
Honorable members, I don't understand how you ask a question and then you don't listen to the answer.
that's the point. Madam Speaker, that is their problem, because they ask a question and they don't listen, and which is a clear demonstration that they never listen properly to anything that is being said. And I'm convinced that that is their problem, because if they had listened, if they had listened carefully, they would have heard that, yes, the load shedding that we are having is caused by a variety of factors. A variety of factors, and because there are a multiplicity of... Madam Speaker, should I stop
Order.
talking because...
Please proceed, Honorable President.
Thank you. And because there are a multiplicity of factors that cause load shedding, and we can go through the whole list, because in the end, load shedding is a problem that we should not make fun of. We should never make fun of. We should deal with this matter with the seriousness that it requires, because it is a common problem. I did say in the State of the Nation address that some of these challenges are common to all of us, and we've got to address them and deal with them as a collective and say these are our problems. Because when there is load shedding, it affects many people either in one locality or in very big localities. So that is precisely where our challenge is. But where are we now? We are addressing, Deputy President is leading the team that is addressing the issue of load shedding on a daily basis. They are seized with this problem of Eskom, together with the ministers that I said would be working with the Deputy President. They look very closely at it, and they produce a report which I get every morning to see exactly what the status of the grid is and how we are addressing all those challenges. And we are hoping that with time, the load shedding will be becoming lesser and lesser, because what they are doing is to try and increase the capacity of maintenance and make sure that the funding for maintenance is well spent and it is there. So on that score, Honorable Speaker, I think let us take heart and hope that we are definitely going to resolve the Eskom problems as we move on. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Tembe Kwayo.
Mr. President, as I am sure you know, there is a ministerial determination, number 733, published on the 18th of August in Government Gazette 39111 by the Minister of Energy, which prevents Eskom from producing renewable energy, but requires it to purchase renewable energy from independent power producers. As part of Eskom's restructuring program, do you not think it would be wise to have that ministerial determination withdrawn so that Eskom can also start producing renewable energy and join the green revolution? Or are you so intent on collapsing Eskom that you will continue to buy renewable energy from IPPs? Thank you.
The Honorable the President.
Now, if you could remember what I said in the State of the Nation address, I did say that This renewable energy space is a space that we want Eskom to participate in. And I would agree with you that this determination, which I have never seen, goes against precisely what we believe Eskom should be doing. Eskom, as a generator of energy, should also play in that space. There should be nothing that bars Eskom, and if we have somehow determined that Eskom should be stopped, we should remove that, as Eskom should also participate and compete with the others. So that is what I would agree with you on, and if you remember, I did say it more boldly in the State of the Nation address that that is what we want Eskom to do. So I agree with you, and maybe you'll be pleased to know that I agree with the EFF on this issue. Thank you very much.
We now come to question number 5, asked by the Honorable Inkosi E.M. Buthelezi. I call upon the Honorable, the President.
Honorable Speaker, the Department of Traditional Affairs, together with representatives of the National House of Traditional Leaders, have established a task team which is led by Nkosi Nonkonyana to make proposals on the powers and functions of traditional leaders and any amendments to legislation. To date, the Department of Traditional Affairs has developed a draft discussion document. The department, working together with the National House of Traditional Leaders, has also appointed a constitutional law expert to do further research on this matter and finalize the discussion document. This research requires a study of all relevant legislation of an international comparison nature on how other countries have approached this issue. Once the research and the discussion document are finalized, all stakeholders will be consulted on the proposals. We look forward to the outcomes of this work, which will greatly assist in reaching agreement and finality on an issue that is important not only to traditional leaders and traditional communities, but to all South Africans. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, we will have Honorable Cebekulu taking charge of the follow-up question. Honorable Cebekulu.
Angithokoze somlomo. Ngiyathemba somlomo ukuthi cishe umongameli sinikeza impendulo ezawucishe icakisela amakhosi ezifundeni lapho ekhona. Ngiyakwemukela kona konke amakhosi abe ekwethulile kumongameli. Nakho ke ngifisa ukwazi if the president addresses this issue must be resolved, as you correctly said when addressing the official opening of the National House of Leaders. In a democratic country, we can't make a mockery of traditional leaders. How soon can we expect a consultation? Is it going to be to include all structures like the COI and the SEN as well? Mhlonishwa umongameli, umlando uyasitshena manje na omongameli abebe khona phambi kwakho mhlonishwa babe lokhu benzisethembiso lolu hlobo kodwa bazange beyibekele umgomo ukuthi ngesikhathi esithile kobe sexazulula lenkinga. Mhlawumbe umongameli angayibophezelani yena ukuthi ngesikhathi sakhe ese-ofisini uyothi ephuma ebese kulungisiwe lokho. Ngiyathokoza.
Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mauthi ngesikhathi mangiphuma ngizoba sesixazulile le ndaba. Amaviki ay-8 kuphela bese nami ngiyaphuma. Bowuthi siyenze khona manje. Oh, so unethemba ukuthi siyabuya kule. Aw. Hayi waze wangijabulisa impela, ngiyajabula. Futhi ngiyabonga. Unginika isithembiso esiphelele impela ukuthi ngizobuya ngasemva kwalolu khetho siyakudla. Honorable Speaker, on this issue, all I would want to assure the Honorable Cebekulu is that we are serious about this matter. We have addressed the National House of Traditional Leaders, and I have requested the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to make sure that all the issues that were raised during our discussions with traditional leaders are addressed, but more specifically this one. So, Inkosi uNonkonyane wayekhona uma ngithi ufana ukuthi aqhubeke ngalomsebenzi. Uyazi ukuthi uzawuqhubeka ngawo aze awuqede lomsebenzi. So ngibona mina unomsebenzi ngeke uthathe isikhathi eside. Ngesempeleni ngibona ngathi ngeke uthathe even 2 years ungakapheli. Ngoba bazofana ukuthi bahambe mhlambe baya kwezinye indawo bayobona ukuthi amanye amazwe bayisebenze njani le ndaba. Abanoya kuwo wonke lo mhlaba bazawukhetha nje ukuthi baya kuphi nakuphi bese bayabuya ke basenzele i-report yabo bese sizoyiveza ke i-report ukuthi sikwazi ukuthi siqhubekele phambili. So ngiyathemba ukuthi kuzayenzeka ngesikhathi esifishane. Ngiyabonga.
The Honorable Mahlobo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, His Excellency, Comrade President. Well, President, nginomlayezo la, bengikhuluma nomongameli weContralesa, ngakhuluma nenhloko ephethe iNational House of Traditional Leadership, nosihlalo we-Technical Committee, Inkosi uNonkonyane, nosihlalo wendlu yamakhosi eMpumalanga. Bathi-ke mongameli kulo msebenzi owenzayo bafuna ukwendlulisa nanku umlayezo ukuthi babonga kakhulu ukuthi we are inspiring them with your efforts of ushering in a period of unity, renewal and rejuvenation of our nation. They are also very happy that there is an appreciation by yourself and the ANC that the institution of traditional leadership represents an unbreakable bond between our people past, present, and the future. They are very happy that we have kept your promise. When you started the pilgrimage, when you became the president of the ANC, and you started involving them in the issues of development and growth in our communities. Therefore, on the 4th of March, they are very happy with the work that Minister Zweli Mkhize is doing. They've listened to the task you have given. They are saying that they are very happy to work with you. They trust you and the ANC. But the only issue, President, they want you to do is to try to assist, especially at a local level, where some councillors are not in sync with the move of renewal and rejuvenation to work together. That's their main issue, that they want that spirit that you have done, involving them in Land Summit, in issues of gender-based violence and genocide. And bathi-ke bacela ubalungisele lokho mongameli.
The Honorable the President.
No, thank you, Honorable Speaker. All I can say is that the message is well communicated. We know that there are issues and challenges at local government level where traditional leaders are encountering some challenges as they interface with local government councillors. And this is a matter that we will pay attention to, and Minister Mkhize and Deputy Minister Bapela and Deputy Minister Nel are presently seized with all these matters, and we should be able to find a solution to all this. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Maimane.
Ke a leboga mo president ne ke tsamaile ka ya ko Limpopo ka kopana le magoši ba re ka bo bona
Order, honorable members, allow Honorable Maimane to ask his question.
ba re ka bo bona ba kopa gore lefatshe le boele ko bona ebile batho ba ba nnang mo mafatsheng ba kgone go ouna lefatshe Manje mongameli ngakhuluma ngazwa kuthiwa inkosi ubaba uZwelithini uthi abantu funeke bathole i-title ngoba ufuna ukuthi
Order, honorable members. We can't hear what Honorable Maimane is saying.
On a point of order,
What's the point of order, Honorable Mandela?
the honorable member just misled the House. There is no Nkosi Zwelithini, Sisilo Uzwelithini. There's a difference between a king and a traditional leader being a chief. Inkosi is Uzwelvelile. King Zwelithini is addressed as such, His Majesty. Thank you.
Honorable Maimane, well noted. Please proceed and do be sensitive to the protocols.
He had remarked that in fact we should convert permission to occupy into title for citizens.
Who?
The king. Now I tend to agree with him, and what I'm interested in knowing, Mr. President, is do you agree that in fact citizens who are living in rural communities must be able to own land in their right, as so that they can own titles, so that their rights are protected, Mr. President? Ke a leboha.
The Honorable the President.
Honorable Madam Speaker and Honorable Maimane, and I'm sure you will know that the process of owning land in our country is quite mixed. There's a process where we have permission to occupy, PTOs, and where we have communal ownership through various structures like the CPAs, and where we have direct title, and it's a mixture, and that's part of the land, if you like, ownership process that we've got in our country. And the constitution of our country talks about security of tenure that should be given to South Africans, which I subscribe to, which I support completely. And yes, I would support that it is a good thing for people to own their own land. And that's precisely what we are doing in a number of places where we are giving people title deeds so that they can have full ownership of their pieces of land. And in a number of other places, people still have permission to occupy, and in others, land is administered and owned through communal traditional authorities, and in other areas, it is owned through community property associations. Now, all that is a process of moving towards a particular direction and destination. And of course, the ideal one is where South Africans will each own their own piece of land, but we need to recognize what currently exists. What currently exists in a number of areas in our country is something that needs to be evolving with time. The PTOs, yes, they can be converted into full ownership. The CPAs are working well at the moment, and in a number of other areas, the communal ownership of land through traditional authorities is also functioning. So that is the mosaic of land ownership in our country, and with time it will be evolving. So we need to deal with each one as we move forward. Now, the land reform process that we are involved in clearly has to address all this. So through the land reform process and the team that is being led, the task team that is being led by the Deputy President, is dealing precisely with some of these issues. And very soon they'll be releasing quite a lot of land that is owned either by companies or government or other people into ownership by communities, into ownership by individuals as well. So it is a mosaic type of situation, and let's allow it to evolve. And as it evolves, our own knowledge around it also matures, and we are then able, yes, the issue of women as well. The issue of women must be fully entitled to own land, and currently in a number of places it's not the case, and we must make sure that it does happen. And it is going to happen that the women of our country should have title over their own land as well. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Kubisa.
Angibonga somlomo, mhlonishwa somlomo, mhlonishwa mongameli. Siyeza ukuthi lolu daba lokuxhaza labaholi bomdabi nemisebenzi yabo namandla abo luyalungiswa kumanje. Kodwa udaba olunye ofanele uphuthunywe udaba lengqala sizinda eindaweni zabaholi bomdabi. Uthola ukuthi ayikho imtholampilo, isibhedlela zikho, nezikhungo nje zezomthetho, mhlawumbe makuhlukunyezwa besifazane nezingane bazohamba ibanga elide, amakhosi mhlawumbe amathathu noma amane ahlanganyela isibhedlela esisodwa esikude esedolobheni ngale ngaphezulu kwemigwaqo nokunye. Ilezi zinto okuyibonakala ukuthi ziyawakhubaza kwezentuthuko. Mhlawumbe uhulumeni uzibophezele kangakanani ngokuphuthuma ukulungisa lezi zinto okubonakala ukuthi ziyabakhubaza amakhosi, singakhulumi nje nangama-TVET colleges, izinto ezingekho nhlobo nezinye futhi. Ngiyathokoza somlomo.
The Honorable the President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Ngiyabonga kakhulu ngoba ngalesikhathi National House of Traditional Leaders saphawula kuzo zonke lezo zinto, sakhuluma ngazo. Mina ngasho ukuthi sifuna ukuthi ama-traditional leaders wethu bangene baphelele kulento ye-development, basebenze nathi, bangene ku-infrastructure sisebenze kunye, bangene nakuma-facilities afana nezibhedlela, yebo nakuma-police station. Makudingeka ukuthi kube ne-police station endaweni ethize, sibe neplan ephelele ezobonisa kahle ukuthi i-police station ingafika nini na. Naleyo nto yama-TVET colleges sakhuluma ngayo nayo. So umhlangano lo sibe nawo nabo ube umhle kakhulu, and I thought ukuthi we had good understanding amongst us that the role that our traditional leaders must now play with good effect is much more of a developmental one, working together with other role players, particularly government. And they welcomed that. And I had a good sense that we're going to start exploiting the synergies that our respective roles give rise to, where they operate as traditional leaders and we as government looking more closely at government issues. We can mix the two and find good pathways to engage our traditional leaders in developmental issues. We even raise issues such as tourism, such as important heritage sites that are located within the areas where they have control. And they, in my view, got quite excited when we raised this issue. And they are going to be working very closely with the Minister Mtetwa on issues such as arts and culture. And we also delved into, just traditions and the cultures of our people and the languages. So there is a lot that we spoke about, which we are now going to start taking forward. All in all, we had a fantastic debate in the National House of Traditional Leaders, where there was a good sense of cooperation, and the great feeling was that we can work together and move and resolve the many challenges that our traditional leaders still have, and we had a sense that they are resolvable, and that will lead to a very, very good end in terms of consolidating the relationship between national government, provincial government, indeed, and local government as well, with our traditional leaders. So thank you very much.
We now come to question number 6 from the Honorable Sheikh Imam. The Honorable the President.
Government, Honorable Speaker, is in the process of giving effect to a resolution of the governing party that South Africa should downgrade its embassy in Israel. Our approach is informed by our concern at the ongoing violation of the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination and the refusal of the government of Israel to enter into meaningful negotiations to find a just and peaceful resolution to this conflict. We are also concerned about the resurgence of confrontation and conflict in the region and about the grave humanitarian cost of further intransigence. Our approach is also informed by an appreciation of the constructive role that South Africa is being called upon to play in the quest for peace in the Middle East. We are clear in our support for the achievement of the Palestinian state, alongside the right of the State of Israel to exist in peace and security with its neighbors. In implementing this conference resolution, we are mindful of South Africa's responsibility to continue engaging with all parties to the conflict to see where we would be able to provide assistance. As such, the South African government remains seized with the modalities of the downgrading process of the South African embassy in Israel, and we will communicate once Cabinet has fully finalized this matter. I thank you.
The Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. President, it's 15 months since a resolution was taken, a unanimous resolution was taken for the immediate and unconditional downgrading. Now, in my understanding of the word immediate, it meant that it cannot take 15 months for you to implement. But the National Freedom Party assisted you. We even tabled a motion which has not come to this House up to this day. We've put billboards to remind you around the OR Tambo Airport. Even that has not happened. Can you take us in your conference, President, to tell us, are you under any pressure from the international community not to implement this one? And how soon can we have this implemented so that, remember, Mr. President, the sanctions and disinvestment is what brought us to where we are today. Thank you.
The Honorable the President.
Honorable Speaker, I can answer categorically that we are not under pressure from any government of whatever nature not to go ahead with this resolution. What we have been doing and what the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation has been doing is to look fully at the modalities, and there are quite a number of steps that we have already taken to put this to effect. And we are going to be able to downgrade that embassy. And we've communicated that very, very openly and clearly. And also to those who have raised concerns. There are quite a number of those who have come to raise concerns with us and decried the fact that we shouldn't do so. And we've said we are bound by this conference resolution, but on a more overall basis, we are concerned, as I said earlier, about the continued situation of the Palestinians in the Middle East. And therefore, we are moving ahead to implement that resolution. We have, at the same time, been called upon to participate in trying to broker, a process of getting peace to prevail in that part of the world. And there are a number of initiatives that are underway. But we are going to be downgrading. That is a decision that you must be rest assured will be taken.
Thank you. Honorable Groenewald.
Adjunct Speaker, Honorable President, you started by saying that you strongly support the self-determination of the Palestinians. Now I understand that. Our own constitution provides in section 235 for self-determination. And I will engage the Honorable President after the 8th May elections on that issue. But now, my question, Honorable President, you want to play a role to ensure that we have peace. Do you also recognize the self-determination of Israel as a state? And if you do you support the two-state solution? And don't you think that by downgrading the embassy to a liaison office, that will be a signal, a very strong signal, that you are actually taking sides? En as u 'n rol vir vrede wil speel, dan moet u nie, dan moet u nie vrede, dan moet u nie kant kies nie. Ek dank u.
Meneer de President.
Baie dankie, meneer Deputy Speaker. Nee, ons neem nie 'n kant nie. Ons neem nie 'n kant, ons het dit duidelik gesê dat ons gaan die embassy downgrade. Maar ons sê ook that we are interested in seeing that there is peace in that part of the world, and we are willing and open to engage. And this we have also indicated to both sides. And we have said our position has always been known. It's always been known that our support for the cause of the Palestinians is a historical one, and the injustice that they are going through is something that we have to stand up against. But at the same time, we've said Israel also has the right to statehood. Israel has a right to sovereignty. Yes, they do. So we do then support a two-state approach, that they have a right to exist alongside a Palestinian state. The issue is that there must be a Palestinian state. Now, for as long as a Palestinian state is not in place, we will adopt the stance that we take. Thank you very much, Mr. Groenewald.
Thank you. Honorable Paulson, there's no need to scream and shout. Doesn't improve any argument. Honorable Maimane.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to say that it is my firm understanding that it is the resolution of this government to have a two-state solution in the Middle East.
Sure.
Now, I stand by it. I stand by the self-determination of both the Palestinians and the state of Israel. Now, Mr. President, that is predetermined by the fact that we deem people to have their own human rights protected. What I want to understand, Mr. President, is that whilst your unequivocal support for the people of Palestine, how are you going to ensure that the resolution for a two-state solution is implemented, and what role can South Africa play in that? Are we going to continue to fight for human rights of all people oppressed in the world, including also the people of Zimbabwe, who right now are battling underneath their government, and also the people of Venezuela, who are standing up for their rights? And the people of Tibet, how do we ensure that on one side, we stand for human rights of all citizens
Honorable
and ensure the resolution
I'm afraid
is put
your
in
term
place?
has
Thank you.
expired.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Our position on fighting and standing on the side of people who are struggling for human rights is unquestionable. We have always stood on the right side of history, and we've always ensured that we support those who are struggling for human rights. And that is why the stance we've taken on the question of Palestine is what it is. The decision to downgrade
to downgrade the embassy in Israel is precisely informed precisely by the violation of the rights of Palestinians, and we are therefore putting pressure on Israel, but at the same time we are saying we are willing to play a role and engage and make sure that there is peace. And where we are able to, we will be able to engage with both sides, and both sides have actually been saying, you, South Africa, can play a role because you have a very strong human rights tradition, and you're also very strong in helping other countries find solutions. So our position is very clear on this, and that is the policy of our government, and that's how we're going to proceed. Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, President. Honorable Mandela.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honorable President, given that the father of our nascent democracy and global icon, President Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, said that our freedom is yet incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. And given that Madiba said the Palestinian struggle is the greatest moral issue of our time, and also given that Nkosi Dalpunga said that as long as there is a single human being suffering anywhere in the world, our struggle is far from over. Today, millions of Palestinians are subjected to gross human rights violation, crimes against humanity, and what amounts to genocide and ethnic cleansing on a daily basis against defenseless women and children. What is our response, Honorable President, to those who make cheap electoral mileage out of the Palestinian struggle, especially with reference to the ANC 54th NGC, and calling for an immediate downgrade on our mission? Thank you.
Deputy Speaker, our position and the position that was taken, or rather the decision that was taken by the governing party's conference, the 54th conference, was precisely informed by what you are saying, Honorable Mandela, because it was when we looked at the situation of Palestinians, when we realized how their rights are being violated and how their sovereignty and the self-determination has been completely disregarded and denied, that the governing party's conference took the resolution to downgrade the embassy. And that's precisely how we are going to proceed forward. And this we have communicated very clearly. One of the honorable members was saying, we've now been 15 months after this decision was taken, and that is correct, but we are going to proceed to implement that decision. And as I was saying, we were going through the modalities. Minister of International Relations and Cooperation with her officials have been working feverishly to make sure that we do implement this decision. At the same time, we've been, yes, involved in a number of other engagements, but we are not going to turn back from implementing this decision, because it is a matter that we need to implement to put pressure on the government of Israel to realize that the issue of the Palestinians needs to be resolved. The Palestinians are continuing to live under completely unacceptable conditions, where a number of people continue getting killed, which you call ethnic cleansing, on an ongoing basis, which is totally unacceptable, and their rights for self-determination must now be recognized. And South Africa, therefore, will be making a clear indicative signal that this is unacceptable, and to that effect, we are going to downgrade that embassy. Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy President. Speaker.
That concludes questions to the President. I thank you, Honorable President.
Thank you.
And that concludes the business of the day. The House is adjourned.
That was my last session. You mean I won't have another session?